to Strictly Sports. I'm Jacob Brown. Today we're going to do our Boston Red Sox 2020 season preview. They were 84 and 78 last season. We're going to do it how we always do it: additions, subtractions, lineup, bench, rotation, bullpen prospects. And for this team, rare edition, rare segment edition. Like the Astros, we got to talk about the cheating. There's only two teams we get to do that with: Red Sox, Astros. We got to do it. So who did they lose? Well, I'm going to add this as a subtraction. Dustin Pedroia, he's out for the season for injuries, and not just for the season. He's essentially retired at this point. They're just going to have to pay him off through 2021. He's owed $25 million. So Dustin Pedroia, he's a guy that, as a Yankee fan, I've tremendously respected him. He's a guy that goes 100% all the time, and I just hate that his career ended like this. Just a guy that just is what the definition of a hardworking baseball player. And I really do feel bad for him that his career ended like this. But who else did they lose? Well, they traded away Mookie Betts and David Price to the Dodgers, and they acquired Kenta Maeda in a trade and Alex Verdugo. Excuse me, not Kenta Maeda. They just got Alex Verdugo. Steve Pearce, the first baseman, retired. Brock Holt went to the Brewers. Rick Porcello to the Mets. Sandy Leon to the Indians. Jhoulys Chacin to the Twins. Andrew Cashner, Chris Owings, Stephen Wright are still free agents. Sam Travis, the first baseman, went to Texas, and Hector Velasquez went to the Orioles. So let's look at this lineup. Leading off and playing left field, Andrew Benintendi. It might shock you, but he's a league average player. 100 weighted run created plus. That's it. Probably the most overrated player in baseball with Lindor and Baez. In my book, only 13 home runs and 68 RBIs in 138 games. Then Xander Bogaerts, great year. 33 bombs, 117 ribbies, 390 WOBA. Then Rafael Devers, 32 home runs, 115 RBIs, 377 WOBA. JD Martinez, 36 and 105. So there's not a lot of teams, Steven, that you see three guys in a row, 100 plus ribbies. That's impressive. Then Alex Verdugo, they got him from the Dodgers. Then Christian Vasquez, the catcher, 23 bombs last year. Then Mitch Moreland, now 34 years old. Then Michael Chavis at second base, and Jackie Bradley in center field. And then I think, by the way, you're going to see a platoon of Bradley and Pilar in center field. They have virtually the same stats, and they're both elite defensive center fielders. So you're not losing anything in that particular platoon. Then they have Jose Peraza on the bench, Jonathan Lucroy as their backup catcher, and then an FAU shout out, Steven. CJ Chatham went to FAU. It looks like he might be their backup shortstop over there in Boston. So when you look at this lineup, what do you think about it? Because they got a lot of 100 RBI guys, but then it's a lot of average guys too.
Yeah, I like, as much as I want to ride off the Red Sox, and we've been talking about them, people want to say, well, you're going to see this massive decline. The subtractions really overweighed what you got in addition wise in the offseason, but they are the Red Sox still. They still are a team that, until I see them drop off, I'm not going to buy into it yet, because they do have still elite talent. They still have Xander Bogaerts, Rafael Devers, JD Martinez is still producing at a high enough level. So I can't really ride them off yet because they got certain guys like that. But you look at guys like Andrew Benintendi, even Alex Verdugo. How is he going to translate over into Boston? Mitch Moreland, Jackie Bradley Jr. So those three, Benintendi, Bradley Jr., Moreland, even Michael Chavis, guys who are league average, haven't really produced overwhelmingly enough to catch my eye. But like I said, they still have a solid enough 1 through 9 lineup that has been together for quite some time now and has that experience. So you can't really count that out as of right now. You went and got Kevin Pillar from the Giants, who, like I said, I'd really like the take there with him platooning with Bradley Jr., both elite in the outfield positions, can really cover a lot of ground. They're quick enough to get on base. Really tough out to get in that 9 spot. Potentially, you can flip them into the 1 hole if you on a certain day. So, not going to write off the Red Sox yet. Yes, you saw a big drop off and a big loss, and losing Mookie Betts, that's going to hurt a whole lot. Brock Holt, utility guy, you lost in that 9th hole too. So, still a lot of talent on this Red Sox roster, but you're going to see somewhat of a decline, I believe, this year.
Yeah, I mean, you could also say they lost Steve Pierce too, who was their platoon guy at first base with Moreland. Maybe they replace him with Bobby Dahlbeck, a prospect in their system. He's not a top 100 guy, but Bobby Dahlbeck certainly has power as a right-hander. 6'4", can play third base and first base. But yeah, I'm totally with you. And this isn't a new thing with Benintendi either. The year before this, 2018, when they won the World Series, 122 weighted run created plus, 357 WOBA. So even those numbers, they're not tremendous. Like this guy to me, like everyone's like, oh, this guy's the best left fielder in baseball. Really? A league average guy is the best left fielder in baseball? I don't think so. He didn't even hit 20 home runs. So, and I get it. He missed 20 something games, but I just don't see it. He's not tremendous defensively. He doesn't add anything on the base paths. His on base percentage is not tremendous. It's only 343. So Benintendi out of the leadoff spot, totally overrated. It's really, to me, it's about these three big hitters, Bogaerts, Devers, Martinez. And if you've listened to our Blue Jays pod, you know that both Steven and I had the Blue Jays over the Red Sox. The reason why? Yeah, the Red Sox have these three hitters, but I'm telling you, at the end of 2020, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. might be just as good as Bogaerts, Martinez, Devers. You know, Bo Bichette might be just as good as a Xander Bogaerts. Kevin Biggio might be just as productive as a Devers. I mean, that's the potential of these players. So, and then I look at the surrounding players in that Blue Jays lineup, and I actually like them more than the surrounding players in the Red Sox lineup. So that's how I look at those lineups. What would you say to that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the drop off between their superstar players and the Blue Jays superstar guys, there's not a big difference. There at the end of the season, we'll see how it all plays out. But can Bogarts, can Devers, can Martinez, can they produce at that 100 RBI level again? You don't see that year in and year out anymore. You usually see after a 100 RBI season, you kind of see a little bit of a decline. And if they can produce at the same level again, yeah, hats off to them. But look at the surrounding guys like we talked about. Even we've skimmed over Christian Vasquez, decent enough catcher behind the dish there, can still produce for you. But from the weighted runs created plus standpoint, even Wobas, I mean, they're not far off from guys like Travis Shaw, and even you go back to the 7, 8, 9 guys for the Blue Jays. You even look at Teoscar Hernandez, even a Tellez. The drop off isn't huge. So I look at that. There's the advantage there for the Blue Jays. They can really keep up with this Red Sox lineup. And like I said, the pitching, compared to the two, that's where they get the Red Sox at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue. And before so that's a perfect segue. I mean, you look at this rotation, the Blue Jays, again, we've said it, it's not the best rotation in the world, but it's way better than the Red Sox. And this is not an overstatement. The Red Sox rotation might be on the level of the Baltimore Orioles, which, if I remember correctly, Steven, on that podcast, you said it might be the worst in baseball. So why is that? Chris Sale, he's out for the year. He has Tommy John surgery. Even last year, though, 4.40 ERA. So the Chris Sale of old might be long gone. He did have a 2.11 ERA in 2018. So maybe he's that guy in 2021. But regardless if we get a season, he's not pitching. So let's look at this rotation. You have Eduardo Rodriguez leading the way. If you compare him to John Means, they're basically the same guy. Eduardo Rodriguez, 203 and a third, 3.81 ERA, 9.43 Ks per nine. He's basically the same exact guy as John Means. Then you look at Nathan Eovaldi. He signed that huge and I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here. Nathan Eovaldi, this might be one of the most overrated pitchers in baseball. What happened? He was with the Yankees. He wasn't that great. He could barely get across 5 innings. Why? He used to throw like 120 pitches in 4 innings. He could not get outs. Then he had Tommy John surgery. Then he went to the Rays. They paid him a year to sit there and do nothing. Then he came back, pitched for half a year at like a 4.5 ERA, gets traded to the Red Sox, has like 6 great weeks with a really amazing postseason, and that somehow got him $70 million. And now he comes back, is not good in 2019, 3.81 ERA, not great. This is a guy, Nathan Eovaldi. I look at him and Alex Cobb, basically the same guy. They got the big bucks, and then they dropped off. Then Martin Perez in the 3-hole, 5.12 ERA. That's not what you want out of a 3-starter. Ryan Weber, 29 years old, just made his major league debut at 29 years old. Brian Johnson in your 5-hole, 6.02 ERA. That's terrible for anyone, much less a guy in the Red Sox rotation. And they're really hoping they can get a guy like Colin McHugh, major league veteran, if he's healthy. Maybe he could step in there because he could save them. And if you're the Red Sox and you're saying that Colin McHugh could save your rotation, that's not where you want to be with McHugh as your savior. So what do you look at with this Red Sox rotation here?
Yeah, I think it's just try to survive by the day. It's just you lost your big gun in Chris Sale, and he wasn't like you said, it wasn't the Chris Sale, the type caliber elite that we saw in the World Series runs where he was just blowing it by people. His slider was on point. Everything was just clicking for him. And now he goes into Tommy John, and we've seen a theme with these guys who've come from TJ surgery, and the confidence isn't going to be there when he gets back. How is he going to be? He's out for the whole year, but is it going to be? Are we ever going to see the Chris Sale that we saw for a 3 or 4 year stretch where he was just so dominant? But going into this rotation 1 through 5, I mean, there's no ace there. I really don't think there is. I mean, Nathan Eovaldi and Eduardo Rodriguez, yeah, they're your best 2 guys that you have there that you can deal with. But Eovaldi, coming out of that Tommy John surgery after he was released by the Yankees and signed with the Rays, wasn't the same guy that we saw beforehand. I mean, he had a great half a year with the Rays, and he left, got traded. But then last year he was brutal. He couldn't get the ball by guys. His stuff wasn't clicking like Sales was as well. Those 2 were both struggling. I mean, all these guys have upwards of a 3.5 ERA, so there's not a whole lot you can work with. I mean, Ryan Weber made his debut at 29 years old, so he's got some time and things to learn at that major league level too. So, like I said, Colin McHugh too. Another guy that if you want him to save your rotation, that's a scary sight because he's mainly works out of the bullpen per se. I think that's where he's more comfortable. So throwing him into a starting role, out of the gate could be trouble. But
of injury going right into the rotation, that's a lot to ask.
Exactly, too. So I look at this rotation. It's really. It's not an overstatement to say they're with the Orioles because you have a lot of guys that are wild cards at best and can be either really good. Eovaldi can come out this year and be lights out, or he could be the same guy we saw for a 10-game stretch there where he just struggles and can't get guys out in the ball. He's throwing a Rubik's Cube out there and he can't find the zone. So I look at this rotation, tough. You're gonna have to find some pieces in their system or something to try to maybe get together. But this team, that's where I see a drop off, is if this rotation can't be up to par with their hitting.
Yeah, and I got that number wrong too. I was reading off his 2018 ERA of 3.81. 2019 ERA for Eovaldi was 5.99. That's your 2-starter, Red Sox fans. Have fun. So now we move on to that bullpen. There's 2 guys in there maybe you look at and you're like, oh, they're scary. Matt Barnes, 3.78 ERA, 64 innings, 15.39 Ks per 9. That's one of the best we've seen. Walks at 5.32 per 9. That's bad. Brandon Workman, he's their closer, 1.88 ERA, strikeouts at 13.06 per 9, but his walks 5.65 per 9 as a closer. What makes up for that though? His home runs per 9 are 0.13, which is impeccable. I mean, 0.13 home runs per 9 is incredible. So you have 2 really impressive guys there. You have Josh Taylor, 3.04 ERA in 47 innings, but he kind of came out of nowhere. 27 years old, minor league guy, bounced in and out. Ryan Brazier, 32 years old. He made his major league debut at 31, had a great 18, struggled in 19. So to me, that was kind of him going back to reality. Marcus Walden, 3.81 ERA in 78 innings. Okay, that's just kind of a middle-of-the-road guy. Heath Hembree, same thing, 3.86 ERA. Darwinzon Hernandez, who knows what you're going to get. And then they kind of have a mix of guys that are major league, minor league relievers. When you look at this pen, yeah, you have Barnes and you have Workman. They strike guys out, but they also walk a lot of guys. What's your thought on this bullpen?
It's you have a couple cornerstones in Workman and Barnes, but it goes along with the fact is how many of those games and appearances are going to matter. I mean, if your starting pitching isn't getting the job done, which I can't see a whole lot out of the 2 hole, those guys going deep enough into a game where you're going to have a 7-8-9 setup where you're going to be in the lead a whole lot. So I look at it too, where if you're not winning games and you're trailing constantly, this bullpen's going to get taxed a lot early in the season trying to figure things out, and that could be trouble for them for the whole season. Could be a precursor to how it's going to go for them. But if you're constantly trailing it, we see it all the time from teams that are bad, and the Marlins, the Orioles, whatever it is. You're going to use these guys up early, and it's just going to be an experiment the whole year. And you have a lot of pieces there you can work with, but like I said, if you're not getting starting pitching, you're going to use these guys up a whole lot, and it's going to be a really long year if you can't get pitching to click early on, because you're going to see those guys get worn down, injuries mount up, and like I said too, if any one of these guys in this starting 5 get hurt, who are you going to throw in? Who's going to take their
Yeah.
place? So that's my biggest concern with this Red Sox team is the whole how is the pitching staff going to mold together and try to win you games.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I mean, injuries happen. They're going to face an injury. Of all these really, really injury prone, I mean, they don't have anyone to back up. I mean, if McHugh's not healthy, who is it? I literally I could not name who it would be. They don't have a prospect on the way. And that's a good segue again. Number 26 system in baseball, according to our guest system. That's a 61 APR, 25 TPRP. That's where it's not good. That means all their prospect points added together is only 25. That's not good. They have infielder Jeter Downs. They got him in the big Mookie Betts trade. Maybe he's a contributor, number 44 prospect. They have number 77 prospect, first baseman Tristan Casas, a little bit far away. And then, like I mentioned earlier, number 3 in their system at Double A right now, Bobby Dahlbeck. That's number 3 in their system, not top 100 in baseball, but he had 20 home runs at Double A last year. That's why I said with the loss of Steve Pearce, maybe he's a guy you see at some point to platoon with Moreland. But yeah, I mean, I look at this Red Sox roster. Rotation's a huge problem. Their bullpen is nice, but are they really going to be set up to win any games? And if there's injuries, they don't got any help. And their lineup, you could argue, is right there with the Blue Jays. So in terms of an offseason grade, I'd have to give them a C minus. I think they could have gotten a lot more for Mookie Betts. I think the problem with why they didn't get a lot for Mookie Betts is because they paired him with David Price, and David Price came with a lot of money. So that took away, potential prospects that the Red Sox could have acquired. And we know that whole debacle that was going on too. The Brusdar Graterol situation. Could they get an extra player out of the deal? So I really don't like the return that they got. Just getting Verdugo and Jeter down. So C minus for the offseason, and I have them 4th place in a hypothetical AL East if we were to play in that format. So Steven, where do you have them finishing?
I have them finishing 4th as well. They just don't have that it factor for me to be the Boston Red Sox we've seen in previous years. We hit that beginning of the pod, but the offense is elite still. I think it still has enough steam to, win you some games. But the starting pitching, you have to rely on that. It doesn't matter how many runs you can score if you can't get help on the pitching side of it. So I think Blue Jays will leapfrog them this year, not by a whole lot, but we will see them take over that 3rd place spot in the AL East if we have that format, which we probably won't, but hypothetically speaking. And offseason grade, I give them, they're my first D grade of the offseason.
Wow.
Just because the returns you got, you lost way more than you added onto your roster. You lost Mookie Betts, David Price, even Hector Velasquez, and you look at a guy like Velasquez could have helped in a spot where you needed pitching this offseason. Even you lost Rick Porcello too, so the starting pitching really took a massive hit, and that's where I give him that grade. Yeah, you got Alex Verdugo, Jeter Downs, Colin McHugh. You got Pilar as well, but it doesn't compare to a guy like Mookie Betts and a David Price. So the trade-off you got for what you gave away really doesn't complement what you had last year.
Yeah, I completely agree. And now we're going to get to, I guess, our favorite part of the segment. It's designated just for cheaters. We're going to get to the cheating part of this podcast here about the Boston Red Sox. So luckily, we did this podcast after the report came out. And I'm just going to be honest here. They did not cheat as badly as the Astros did. It was not close. The Astros, the difference between what these two teams did, the Astros had, they were being relayed every pitch that was coming. The Red Sox, what they were doing is, or as they say is what they were doing, the video coordinator, when there were runners on second base, he would tell them to tell him what the signs were so that he could decode sequences when runners were on second base. And presumably or supposedly, what the league is saying is this was not done during the postseason. It was only done with runners on second base, and it was only at the behest of the video coordinator. And they're saying the engineer of the cheating system in Houston, Alex Cora, had nothing to do with it. Nothing. So they're saying, oh, yeah, Alex Cora, he just was, he did the whole buzzer video thing with Houston. Yeah, he did. He had no idea what was going on in Boston. Nothing. He had no idea. I find that ridiculously, absurdly hard to believe that he had no idea. The report also says the players didn't know because they say that what the players say is that the video coordinator was just telling them, hey, tell me what the signs are at second base. And from what the players were saying is that he was reviewing old footage, not footage that was happening during a game. And that was where the players were unclear. I think that's BS too. How did the players not know that what they were telling their own video coordinator was for video that was during that same game? So I think it's bullshit all around. I think it's a huge cover-up. And even if that's what the situation really was, when you look at this, this is still a top 5 cheating scandal in the history of sports. It just looks a lot better because the Astros were a hell of a lot worse. The Red Sox still cheated really badly here.
Yeah, what really I blew off some steam after the report came out. I was really pissed off when it came out because they said the commissioner comes out, "Oh, we're going to lay down the law next time we see this happen." And guess what? Red Sox walk away with a slap on the wrist. You take away draft picks? You take away draft picks and you suspend the manager who's not even on the team anymore. You suspend Cora for a 2020 season.
Yeah, for what he did in Houston, by the way.
Yeah, for when he was in Houston. So you're telling me, to me, it's a big fuck you to the whole league. And it's saying, you know what? What do we expect if this were to come out again? Let's say another team comes out and does this. Now, if they get the law laid on them and they get titles taken away or whatever the circumstance is, the disparity there is a whole lot. It's different. You took away draft picks, and that, to me, is meaningless in Major League Baseball because you don't see those picks for years on hand. So it's a bit, okay, yeah, all right, whatever. We got those taken away, but you're not taking away wins. You're not taking away trophies. The Red Sox are walking away from this going, so what? They're not gonna learn from it. And to tell me that Alex Cora walked in that door and didn't take what he took from the Astros to the Red Sox organization, to me, that's just an utter lie, and you're ruining the integrity of the game. I put my trust into the MLB and for them to do a thorough investigation. Maybe they did do a great job and found out everything about this Red Sox organization, but how do we know? He said, Manfred came out and said, we are going to lay the law down on the next team that cheats, and they got a second-round draft pick taken away. To me, I don't know what to believe anymore. Baseball is losing me. They're ruining the integrity of this great game that a lot of people love, and other sports are laughing at us and then laughing at the sport in itself and saying how much of a joke it is because of all this is going on. It needs to stop for this game to really get back to where it wants to be.
I mean, Tom Brady got suspended for a quarter of a season for deflating footballs. The Astros were told what every pitch was coming, and none of the players get suspended. The Red Sox do whatever they did. Now, I will say this. Like I said, the cheating is not on the level of the Astros, and some people even consider it to be gamesmanship in the sense that, you could do what the Red Sox were doing with your own eyes, right? Because you can see what pitch sequences are with your eyes from second base. You don't need to match that with video. So, I was talking to Adiel, big baseball fan, my dad too. They were like, you'd be ignorant to think that every team in baseball wasn't doing what the Red Sox were doing. Not what, the Astros, obviously they were by themselves, but it would be ignorant to say that organizations that are advanced as the Yankees, advanced as the Rays, advanced like the Dodgers, that they weren't doing stuff that was just on the level of what the Red Sox were doing which is why I think the punishment was so small. Because I think baseball is thinking, shit, if some other team, if there's a leaked report that the Yankees were doing some cockamamie shit in the back room, then we don't want there to be this whole controversy for this lower level cheating. Is that a fair point?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll even say it too. When I played baseball throughout I mean, I stopped playing after high school, but we even did that sign stealing from second base. I mean, it's not stealing, you're just decoding the system. You're trying
Right.
to catchers are laying down signs, but if you're on second base, you're looking at it. No one can stop you. You're looking into the batter. You're watching the ball. It's gamemanship thing, like you said. You can use it with your own eyes. We have guys come back and be like, hey, he's rolling this out. He's rolling a 2-3-2 or whatever numbers he's throwing down. Yeah, you have that in your head and your eyes, but when you start adding the element of video and you're using your video replay guy and using and going back and analyzing that footage like it's film, that to me is where you draw the line, kind of where it threw me over. But if you're doing it, everyone does it. I mean, cheating's everywhere. You're going to use everything to your advantage. It's just the nature of the game, and you can do that way. But once you start adding the element of really the video and trying to piecing things together, and now the next time you face them,